What's up, YouTube? Welcome back to our second part in our 10-part 10 Principles of Economics series for Bank of Exile, as we study and learn about how to generate currency and generate wealth in Path of Exile. Today, our section and our topic is the cost of something is what you give up to get it. Pretty simple principle, but we're going to dive into this just a little bit more and see exactly what we mean about as we talk about weighing the costs versus the benefits and how we make decisions in Path of Exile to generate currency. So some quick examples from life. Maybe let's say you're hungry tonight or tomorrow and you want to order some food. Well, the cost versus benefit of ordering out food needs to be weighed. You may have, for instance, food inside your fridge that you could make yourself, or you could have somebody else prepare you food and deliver it to you. So the cost that you need to factor in isn't just the food. You've already got food in your home. But you also need to factor in delivery, someone else making and bringing you the food. That's a part of the cost that goes into it. Maybe you don't want to make the food. Maybe that's a part of your trade-off that you are deciding, and to say, hey, this is a benefit. I don't have to make the food. Somebody else will make me the food and bring it to me. So you're willing to pay for someone else to make and bring you food as opposed to simply making your own food. There's costs associated as well as benefit. A second example would be the cost of getting a pet. So let's say, for instance, that you've got to feed the pet. You've also got health care of the potential pet. And then maybe your homeowner or your living situation, your leaser or your landlord has got some sort of stipulation about the types of pets that you can have and that there may be fees included with it, right? So the cost of getting the pet, when you first look at the price tag of purchasing a pet, you may say, oh, great, that's the price tag. That's all it'll cost. No, there's actually a lot more costs that are included. So you've got to be able to weigh all of the costs in order to evaluate all of the potential benefits and see how that is going to impact and affect your decision-making process and whether or not something is worth it or not. So we talk a lot about opportunity costs and what are the opportunity costs when you identify a hole in the market in POE. The opportunity cost is simply this: whatever must be given up in order to obtain some item or last best alternative forgone. So in other words, if you're working on one particular method for generating currency, what is not only just the things that you need to do or things that you must give up in order to obtain that thing. So let's say you're farming a Comb's Heart, for instance, and you choose to farm maps to get divination cards so that way you can turn those into Navali and get your Comb's Heart. Okay, if that's the mechanism that you choose, then you've actually got to take into consideration that another foregone option would simply be purchasing these cards using currency that you've acquired through other means. So you're going to spend time farming those cards versus simply spending time farming the currency that can then go back in and purchase those cards. Which of those two things is going to be the better option? Farming the card yourself, or farming the currency to buy the cards, or even a third potential option, simply farming the currency to buy a Comb's Heart with the specific rolls that you already won on it. So you've got to be able to weigh all of the opportunity costs that are involved when you are making any decision. So the takeaway from part 2, takeaway from learning the cost of something and the cost-benefit analysis. When you're making any decision, decision makers should consider the opportunity costs of each possible action. So if you are choosing to flip divination cards, then you've got to take into consideration that as you're flipping those divination cards, it's taking you time to purchase them from someone, and then it's also taking you time to sell them from to someone else, to another buyer, and it's also taking you time to list it, and then it's also going to take you time to actually interact with another potential buyer. And if that potential buyer decides, hey, I've spammed a bunch of people on a list, you were one of them, but you weren't the first one to respond to me, you actually just took time out of your day to respond to that person, invite them into a party, and they said, nope, I'm actually going elsewhere. So you actually lost time and efficiency in that regard. So that's just one example of some of the different things, some of the different factors that you need to take into consideration when you're making a decision in Path of Exile to generate currency, whether that's through trading, whether that's through farming. There's lots of different factors that are going to come into the opportunity cost that's associated with your particular decision to make Bank of Exile. All right, so if you've got comments or questions, feel free to leave them down below in the comments. As always, thanks so much to our G3 Patreon supporters that make all of these videos possible, and stay tuned for our next episode.